Helen, thanks for joining us on The World Now. The White House has confirmed that a journalist was added to a secret group chat where senior U.S. officials discussed a planned strike against the Houthi group in Yemen. Jeffrey Goldberg, editor-in-chief of The Atlantic, received the invitation on the Signal app from an account labeled the White House National Security Advisor, Michael Waltz. In the chat, Vice President J.D. Vance was quoted as saying he hated bailing Europe out again, with Defense Secretary also responding and calling European contributions pathetic. Mr. Exet, who is also accused of sharing military strike details in the chat, denied discussing war plans, telling reporters nobody was texting war plans. President Donald Trump, when asked about the incident, said he does not know anything about the group chat leak, which has raised questions about security and accountability in this administration.
I don't know anything about it. I'm not a big fan of The Atlantic. To me, it's a magazine that's going out of business. I think it's not much of a magazine, but I know nothing about it. You're saying that attack was very effective. I can tell you that. I don't know anything about it.
The Atlantic magazine released a stunning and alarming report about the accidental leaking of the Trump administration's coordination on classified military operations targeting the Houthis in Yemen. According to the report, a member of the press was somehow added to an unsecured text chain with the Vice President, the Secretary of Defense, the Secretary of State, the CIA Director, and other national security officials. I asked that Leader Thune and my Republican colleagues work with Democrats right away to hold a full investigation into why these military operations were coordinated over an unauthorized messaging service instead of the secure communications channels funded by taxpayers.
Risk management expert Oyekachi Adekoya joins me on the news for more details on this. It's good to have you join us on The World Now. Help our viewers understand how significant this breach was.
Okay, thank you, and good afternoon to the viewers. It's a very serious issue and a not so serious issue. In terms of the U.S. federal laws, there's no record of Signal being an official communication platform for any active Department of Defense actions or operations. Plus also the fact that the name of one serving CIA operative was also leaked and puts the life of that person also at risk. You also recall that then currently President Trump also lashed out against Hillary Clinton for having a private email server through which she did do official U.S. business. So in terms of the law of the U.S. government and classification of risk or communication, even though any of those heads of department, the defense secretary and the rest, can declassify any document, which argument will be a bit belated, there's a serious breach to process to have the government officials at the level of vice president all the way through the Department of State's on a commercial application as Signal. It's a breach of process and does pose some risk to the U.S. government. And
I mean, this has led to so many persons questioning the security and accountability of this administration. But fortunately for the Trump administration, one will say that this information about an impending U.S. Strike in Yemen perhaps did not fall in the wrong hands, like you have also mentioned. But unfortunately for this administration, it was observed by an influential political journalist. Let's talk about the legal consequences of this. Even though the Signal platform is really not recognized in the U.S., don't you think there should be legal consequences?
Well, the U.S. has had a recent flurry of presidential pardons. Joe Biden having his own fair share, and then Trump arguing over the auto pen most recently. Whilst the defense secretary and other parties on that chat room they are not immune, to the best of my knowledge, from prosecution. There is a breach of federal law clearly. They can do a post-action claiming they declassified, so therefore nothing was shared. Of course, you could look at the statement from the press secretary to the Pentagon, who had come out and said nothing was shared. You've seen a press release also, a statement made by the defense secretary also claiming nothing was released. But if you follow the full length of the communication, you could see policy issues of policy, U.S. national security policy and national security interests, and being discussed. So there's a penal issue there. But I think the lawyers will have their day and
They
having
will have a
academic
few days in
exercises
court.
on,
But with
yes, trying to
Republicans,
argue
I'm
that.
hoping you can hear me. With Republicans in control of both the House of Reps and also the Senate, of course, there is going to be an investigation into what has happened. But talk to us about how this is likely to impact Trump's administration generally in terms of, security, and how it's perceived in terms of, competency in that sense.
Yeah, so I think that Donald Trump has a cult-like figure following amongst his supporters. Somebody once joked that he could probably shoot somebody at point blank range and then go away with it. So there's that possibility. Yes, it gives the administration a bit of a black eye, but it's not unusual to find U.S. government officials with some of these cases. President Trump himself being convicted for mishandling of what they call classified documents before the conviction was waived because of his election. President Biden, while he was VP, Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. So it's just a talking head in the U.S. polity for now. And it raised the question to countries like Nigeria. Who knows whether you have government officials chatting off on WhatsApp group? Signal is a relatively reliable platform, which a lot of businesses do use to create like groups, where they communicate. So it's just another black eye for the Trump administration, but one I think will pass very quickly after 2 or 3 flurry of tweets. Who knows what we may see next from the US? Maybe a deal with Greenland or something over Ukraine, and then all this goes away. So I don't think it's something that will last within the US political space for too long.
I mean, this is a call to action, especially for those who utilize some of these independent social platforms. But thank you for talking to us, risk management expert Oyekachi Adekoya. Thank you for joining us on The World Now.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.